This morning in our scriptures, we hear a common theme of humility. Job shows his humility in knowing that he has received all of his blessings from God, in the end of things, at the end of his life, he will also have to just basically hand everything over to God as well. Jesus, we hear speaking to the disciples about humility, mentions that the one who is least is the one who is greatest. And so we too have this task that we are charged with to keep our hearts humble. It's not always easy. There's first and foremost the tendency within all of us to want to be greater than anybody else. Social media is full of that. If anybody has ever seen some of the arguments that we can easily get drawn into. And yet, we are called to see a child as the example of humility. And when we look at what a child does, we see that children are at first trusting of their parents in every way possible. They are dependent upon them. They recognize their needs. They cry to have their needs met. Whereas when we grow up, sometimes we think that we're not allowed to make our needs known, or that somehow we don't need to need. And yet, God gives us this example to show us that we are called to be like children. We are called into a relationship with God the Father through Jesus to be God the Father's spiritual sons and daughters. And so that is the great humility we are called to have in our relationship with God. A relationship of complete trust that God indeed will hear and answer our petitions.